especially today, more and more people are going to become workers in this flexible ecosystem. People want their second job or their third job or their main job, but they want to work in a flexible environment where I choose my schedule. No one is choosing it for me. I'm saying when I want to work, and then these are the jobs that I will take. You don't dictate my job work. I can choose my own work.
Hi folks, James here, and welcome to the Spyro Circle, this time in collaboration with Forbes Israel. There is so much that goes on behind the scenes of your favourite football match or pop star concert. You buy a ticket, you drive to the stadium, and you go see a show or you go watch a game. But in that experience, there are caterers, cleaners, security, technicians. So much behind the scenes is dedicated to making sure that staffing is recruited and utilized and then paid accurately. So it's a bit of a surprise that it takes so long for HR tech or kind of artificial intelligence generally to penetrate that business. Ubeya is a company that helps connect those staffing agencies or recruitment agencies to the venues that need help in their concerts or their games or their conferences. It's kind of like a gig economy, like with Uber when you look for a driver, but this doesn't go straight to the worker. It goes through the network of the recruiter. I spoke to Omri Dekalo all about his company and some of the massive growth that it's seen in the last 2.5 years after the pandemic. Some of the interesting venues he's worked with have been Wimbledon, Wembley Stadium, the UEFA Champions League final, and major global tours and concerts around the world. The company touches on the gig economy and the hourly worker. It's one of the biggest economies in the world, actually, and something that is only growing as AI is shifting the way that we all do our jobs. So we spoke about the concept of this invisible worker, the folks that you may not see when you go and attend those occasions, but also about the economy and the industry as a whole, and how tech has been fairly late in catching up with one of the largest industries. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. Omri, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Hey, James, how are you?
Good, thank you. Good. I want to speak a bit about the company and where you folks operate, because you're in quite a unique space, at least from what I'm used to hearing about and maybe what other people are familiar about hearing when they think of tech companies and some of the things that we get up to here. Just for context, for the readers and listeners or viewers who may be watching this, I want to set the scene for them. Okay, so they buy a sports ticket, they walk into a stadium, whether it's Wimbledon or Wembley or anywhere in the world, any stadium, and they're there for an event. But they're not just there for an event, because they're there for an experience, and the experience has security guards and catering and cleaners, and there's a whole operation behind that. And that's exactly where you folks operate. So talk to me a bit about what's happening behind the scenes and what you folks do exactly, please.
That's a great introduction and a great way to start a conversation. I think it's funny because when I first got to Wembley Stadium, it was the first time in my life. It was when we started working with them, and instead of going up the stairs and getting to the main entrance, we went through the bottom stairs to get to B2, like the underground area. It's where all the employees are being coming to the stadium. And in order to make an experience, a moment like this it can be a game, it can be a concert, whatever it is, it's moments that people remember for their whole life. And in order to make it happen, there are a lot of stakeholders that are that are doing a lot of work there. So it can be thousands of workers that are coming early in the morning and cutting the vegetables and preparing the food and opening up all of the different doors and making sure that everything is aligned, and janitors and cleaners, and you name it, and stage hands that are building the whole stages. it's a lot of people, a lot of work, and a lot of preparation in order to make it happen. And every event is different. Like an Oasis concerts is different than a Champions League finals, and it's different from a Taylor Swift concert. So it's every concert is different, and every event is different. And we're actually looking at all of these like operations that are done behind the scenes that, as you said, no one like feels it, no one like sees it. It's something that it works, and it creates an amazing moment. And we are actually managing this whole operation behind the scenes to the level of granularity of knowing exactly which person is working in which area and how much revenue he brought to the company and how well he worked, and also where we need to move him around and budgeting for it. And in this level of granularity, this is like the unique kind of management.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about how you guys operate exactly. Okay, so there's this kind of gig economy of hourly shift work where people are coming in to assist, like you said, on music events or business conferences or basically these large scale events. So you are bringing, in effect, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you're bringing a level of tech and oversight into this kind of industry. What were some of the problems that industry, specifically gig economy, like you mentioned, or shift work, or these hourly positions, what were some of the problems that were happening to make Ubeya such a platform?
So it all starts with the type of employees that are working in this space. It's employees that are working on flexible jobs, flexible work, meaning that they're not working on a daily basis. They're not have like a shift that is coming every day in a certain time. And this is one thing. So you need to do something that we call it check availability. Is like just like when you search for an Uber driver and it finds you the relevant driver that is closest to you and the relevant one. Same thing for check availability. I have a Taylor Swift concert in a month's time. Who can come and work? That's the first step. After you've done that, you need to book these people and approve them for the job. After you've done that, there are a lot of no-shows because this type of temporary workers are not committed to organization. It's not like a worker that works in a company and comes on a daily basis. It's people that can have multiple jobs and in multiple times. The next part is the whole how do you do the management of external workers? So if you are at Wembley, many of your workers are not Wembley workers. They work for a third-party agency. They work for another vendor, and for that reason, you need to be able to manage them all. It's a different type of employee management. So it's how you build your planner, how many people you need for every area. How do you find your people? Because these are people that are not working for you constantly. Is how do you find the service providers that will come and give you a hand? Like half of the people on a match day or on an event are external workers, are not workers of the stadium itself. It's like this in everywhere that we're working. If it's Formula One, if it's Wimbledon, Wembley, Chelsea, Tottenham, that's the way that it works. So it's a different type of management. It's a very complicated one because you need to engage people and make them want to work in a job. And there is a full rating mechanism because it's like an Uber style kind of work. So yeah, so companies are managing their whole internal workers through us, and then their whole external workers through the same platform. I can give you a good story. When we first got to Wembley, there were 90 tables in this area of B2 downstairs. There were 90 tables of all the service providers, the agencies that were all of their workers used to come to this table. They marked them in a pen and paper and marked them. Yet James, you got here, and then you went to the security and got to the place of work. I can tell you that now there are no 90 tables there, and this place is available for rent. It's a huge space that is now empty with no people, no tables. So that's the whole like automation of it. And if you think about it, it's things that are happening in real life in like it's happening, and they don't. So far, they never got to get an understanding of what are the data points, what happened, like when someone enters the venue. Okay, what is he doing next? Where is he? No idea.
Yeah, one of the things I find interesting about this is that it seems like such an obvious tool to help such a large part of the workforce. And one of the things I wasn't aware of before this recording today was just how big the gig economy and shift work economy is. I mean, I think it's over half of jobs, right? Maybe that's not exactly right, but it's a massive, massive proportion. So there are countless industries and employees and companies and sectors that are impacted by a change like this. Why? So my question is, why did it take so long? Because you feel that tech or AI or these kinds of platforms were kind of reserved for office jobs or other kind of long-term salary positions. So why did it take so long for this kind of technology and this kind of service to enter this sector?
Yeah, it's interesting. Look, there are many workforce management solutions. I think that managing the blue collar workers is the most uh, problematic and tough kind of management to manage. Managing white collar workers, they clock in, they clock out, they ask for a vacation, done. Yeah, and it's simple. But in this, like, temporary workers, it's a bit different, and it's much more complicated and complex. I think that I think that from that perspective is we're coming very much unique for the verticals that we're very good at. So the complication behind, like, events, complication behind stadium management, conference management, banquet hall management, staffing agency management, it's a different complication than any other vertical. And there we, like, excel in this area. And this is, like, the growth that we see. And I think that what we've done is that we've been very focused on one vertical and doing it very well. And this is, like, what changed, I think, our game, and made it like this is where we excel, because we're very much focused on the use case, on the vertical, on exactly how to make it 12 out of 10, let's say.
Yeah, that's a rating as well as as well as a ranking, right? Um, no,
Yeah.
that's great. I mean, because another thing as well is that it's, you know, traditionally events like this or areas like this would be done on, as you said, like names written on pieces of paper or Excel spreadsheets, or WhatsApp groups, or any form of tool that wasn't so innovative like this. But of course, people aren't like that, right? People aren't a formula. So one of the striking statistics I saw was that an event will have at any given time about 15% no show for their staffing. And I don't know what sector specifically, but I guess per occasion it's about 15%, which is massive. So that's a massive. I guess they prepare for those things, right? You kind of prepare for no shows and then you book around it. Talk to me a bit about some of the ways that AI has transformed this space, but like also protects the safety of the jobs in this space. So it's an interesting one, right? Because a lot of people can be concerned that AI is coming for their jobs, but you folks are using AI with no those are the knowledge-based jobs that are being taken, not the kind of manual physical jobs. So talk me through what some of that may look like, and how it's going to change the future of work.
Yeah, I'll start with the 15% no-show. This is the numbers, and we are able to lower it. And why do you have a no-show? Because you need to make sure that the employees remember that they have a job, that it's on their calendar, that they get enough notifications, reminders, confirmations, and you prefer to know in advance if they are not about to come. So this is definitely something that we are tackling strongly on UBA and in improving the numbers. And yeah, as you say, they are overbooking their events in order to to make sure that they are dealing with the 15%. On the AI part, look, I'm a big fan of this, everything that is happening now with AI. It helps us massively. I think that from a blue collar perspective, it's an amazing time for blue collar workers and for blue collar industries, because we will start to see that more people will come and work there. And if we will even look specifically on the entertainment industry, it's an industry that's just growing every time, and people are looking for this face-to-face interaction and meeting people and creating this amazing moments for them. These things are increasing all the time. There are, as we speak, there are 500 stadiums that are being built in the US. 500 stadiums. It's massive. There are 8,000 stadiums from all sizes in the States as a whole. Like 500 stadiums are being built now. So this industry is just growing and growing. And from an AI perspective, I think that, like you said, they won't be replaced in the next 10 years up until robots will do it. But also the service experience and the real life engagements, you want real people. You want to meet real people. You want to be in interaction with people. So it's something that is very important for us. But we utilize the AI inside our platform in order to create these experiences among the team members. And, you know, when you're a captain on site and you're managing Area 1, you take your phone, you scan the workers app, and you see, oh, James. And I never met James because he's the first time that he's working for me. Hi, James. How are you? Good to see you. You can go to Area 1. You're going to do this and that. Suddenly, this whole like connection between the tech and the real life, that's the magic, that you manage to bring technology to these real life experiences and make this whole work together become like very streamlined. That's the magic. And AI helps us. Like we are, we are working only with AI. I think we haven't wrote a line of code in the last 6 months. Like no one is doing it anymore, right? And that this is massive.
No, definitely. I mean, it was only a few years ago when journalists were telling people to learn to code, and now it looks like journalists and coders don't need to be doing any of that. Funny. Because I want to talk a bit about the impact it has on the worker itself, right? Or worker themselves, his or herself, because you folks are working with the recruitment or the companies, the staffing companies themselves. You're not like a direct marketplace to the individual, like we mentioned kind of earlier. We kind of alluded to like the idea of Uber, but it's not like that because you don't go to the specific person, right? You go to the agency. So what can you tell me a bit about the response that people are having as the companies that they are recruiting to are using a technology like yours? Do you have testimonials all the way down the chain?
Yeah, 100%. So what we see in different markets that we operate in globally is that workers are working for several companies. They can work for several stadiums and several agencies and other types of companies, and it's all on Ubea. So eventually, Ubea becomes their job board. They open Ubea, they see all of the open shifts that they have for different jobs in different places with different skill sets that they need, and they can just pick up the jobs that they want. On top of that, they are being rated. So think about the blue collar jobs. They don't use LinkedIn. They won't like plug in, I worked for Chelsea 50 shifts in LinkedIn. It doesn't work like this. So our aspiration is to eventually have their LinkedIn page, their CV will be built on the Ubea platform. So this is what's happening at the moment. And to give them this option to share this CV with other companies or look, if you worked for hundreds of shifts and you got 5-star ratings in majority of them, it says a lot about you. In every other job that you will go to in the future also, not necessarily only on these types of jobs. So I think it brings a lot of value to the end worker. We get a lot of great testimonials and comments from the fact that people are just getting their money on time. Getting payroll on
Right.
time is unique. In the same week without any pay queries. That you don't have any pay queries.
Because
Before we
you're
came,
not
there
just
were
like an
20%.
AI monitoring. You're not just an AI monitoring platform and connector. You also help with all aspects of the event, right? And that goes all the way to payroll and distribution of that.
Of course. So they are clocking in, clocking out, checking in, checking out. Everything is from the app, and everything is audited and approved. And then payroll is being done in a click of a button. You don't need to do anything in order to initiate payroll. So it's all done in one place, and the number of pay queries was reduced in 80%. Pay queries is when a worker is calling the company and saying, hey, you need to pay me an additional hour. Why? Because you forgot an hour, or I'm not on the right rate. It doesn't exist anymore. It like became a very small problem, and very unique one. So on that front, there is a massive change, and the workers are everything. So if their experience won't be seamless and easy and simple, it won't work. Yeah.
What can you tell me was the most surprising thing that you saw between an event or an agency or a venue before adopting you guys versus after? What were some of the most surprising things you saw beforehand and then to see it change?
Yeah. There are endless things. I remember coming to the O2 Arena before we launched there and looking at their operation just to learn. And I saw there a person coming to the entrance, and then the person in the entrance looked for his name in a pieces of paper, found his name. Great, you're going to be in area 1. And then the person, no, I don't want to be in area 1. I want to be in area 3. All right. He took a piece of paper, wrote on it area 1 to area 3, wrote the number of the employee, gave him this paper, and told him, now you go to the secretary over there and ask her to change you around. This is nuts. This is a lot of work. And it's funny, but this is how it used to work there. But I think that, and still you can use systems. And I can tell you that when we got there was a system in place. But if you're not utilizing the system and you're not being fully implemented with the system as you should, then you start like having other processes like Excel sheets, like these pieces of paper, like pen and paper, because then you work for the system and not the system works for you. So a major part, I must say, James, is the implementation piece and making sure that the stadium or the event place or whatever is fully utilizing the system. And it's a lot about a service. You know, everyone is talking about service as a software. I don't know how well you're acquainted with it, but it's there. It's the option to really understand the business process and adapt the system accordingly, and making sure that they are adapting it and have the right metrics in place and have the right engagement metrics. It's the most crucial one. And I think this is a part that many companies that came before us missed, is the implementation piece and the service piece. So hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Fantastic. I want to speak, because you're speaking now about kind of metrics and things that you can measure through all of these new ways. And I want to speak maybe a bit about your metrics and some of the growth that you have seen in the last 2.5 years or so. You've reported massive growth. What is some of the drivers behind that? So talk me through a bit about like how that happened exactly, maybe some of the big milestones, some of the big turning points.
Yeah. So I think a few things. In the last 2.5 years, we grew like 10 times in revenues. We are today more than 50 workers. We are break even. Raised so far $13.5 million. And we have like enough cash for a run rate is like 40 years, I believe. So
that's a lot of Taylor Swift concerts.
Exactly,
That's a lot of
exactly.
that's a
A
lot of
lot of
heartbreak.
um, so yeah, so that's on that front. I think that the pivotal moment was going upper market. We started by serving catering businesses in New York, small venues, and then climbed a bit up the ladder and a bit up the ladder. And today we serve some of the biggest food service companies in the world, the top. And this was the main game changer for us, like going up the up market. Um, and and yeah, and it's like it's massive. It's massive in the number of locations and the number of operation and number of people that are being managed in the roster. It can be tens of thousands of people that are being managed. So this is what made the change. And also now using AI, things are much quicker. So we can, if you have a specific legislation in a specific country that is a bit unique, you can do it.
Such as?
Swedish market, CBA, for example. How do you meet the requirements of a CBA in a Swedish market that can be very much unique, and it can be things that it's not part of the generic rule sets that you have in the system. Um, so it's a great, like using AI helps us massively in doing it much quicker. So our launching time reduced from like 6 weeks to 3 weeks. Um,
The I want to avoid the I want to avoid some of the tropes surrounding the conversation, but it's kind of unavoidable because the pandemic changed so much about how people gathered, and then there was concern about. I mean, I was never much of a stadium. I was never much of a music concert goer, but I was a cinema. Well, I am still a cinema goer, and that was always something that impacted me. When the pandemic came, I stopped going, and then there was a kind of behavioral pattern that had to be reignited to return me into going there, because you get very comfortable at home and you don't always want to go out in the evening, and nowadays you may have to get a babysitter, etc. So what can you tell me a bit about maybe some of the behavioral patterns that may have changed post pandemic? Is that something you've seen at all, or is this just a completely different kind of conversation? Both in
yeah,
the
that,
both in the workforce place, but also in the attendee place, and maybe what the companies themselves, the agencies, are seeing.
yeah. I mean, look, the pandemic was a big scar for us. It was like a year and a half that we didn't have like anything happening, no events, no jobs, no nothing in the platform. So it was very unique for us. And what we've done during the pandemic is that we doubled down on solving the large event space and how to manage temporary workers. And we just like rebuild the whole platform from scratch. And because we knew that it will come back and it will come back strongly. So this is like was our approach. I can tell you that since COVID, this space is just growing and growing from attendees perspective. It's tickets are being sold massively, places are being built, and stadiums are being repurposed for a multi-purpose stadiums. So like take every stadium in the States or in Europe, they can now become a football stadium, that can become a concert place, that can become a hockey place. And it's a multi-purpose kind of stadium, and they're building their whole ecosystem near a stadium. So if you take Wembley as an example, I said Wembley many times during this podcast. So
It's
they
okay. You're
have
speaking my
like
language. I get it.
yeah. So they have like a mall, a big mall surrounding Wembley, and the whole neighborhood that was built around the stadium. So that's exactly where it's going to take us. So a lot of other businesses like hotels and restaurants and everything is built around the stadium because this is the main experience, and there is a lot of opportunity for growth in this space. We see it a lot everywhere in the world. And it's just going and going. From a workforce perspective, um, my take on it is, especially today, more and more people are going to become workers in this flexible ecosystem. People want their second job or their third job or their main job, but they want to work in a flexible environment where I choose my schedule. No one is choosing it for me. I'm saying when I want to work, and then these are the jobs that I will take. You don't dictate my job work. I can choose my own work, just like in Uber drivers and just like other places. I think
Well, I was
that's
going to
the
say it's
change
just
of
like the gig
mindset.
economy. It is kind of like the gig economy, right? It's people are choosing what to do when
Yes,
they do it, um, to their benefit and
exactly,
to their time and to their talent as well. You know, maybe someone wants to be a part-time security or caterer or cleaner or
exactly.
whatever works for them.
Exactly. And also you need to think about the growth like path for these workers. So how do you make sure that they are growing with your company? So let's say that you did 20 jobs and you'd had like 5-star ratings in all of them. Great, I can promote you to become a manager. And these are like the things that you don't always have attention for it. Even like in a in a startup company or a tech company, you not all the time have attention. And especially when you manage like thousands of workers, you need to be able to see each of them and to train each of them and make sure that they have like a growth path within your business, because then you can keep them for longer. So these are all of the things that we bake into our solution in order to give the best engagement tool for the employees and the manager.
What would you say is probably one of the biggest misconceptions about the shift work economy and the invisible worker that we've been speaking about? You know, the operations that run behind the scenes.
I think for myself, I didn't understand how massive it is, how many workers are behind the scenes. If you take Wimbledon, underneath Wimbledon, there is a whole world that is like a lot of people that are making it happen in restaurants. And also like the fact that the football match or the game is not necessarily the thing in these events. It's the whole experience behind it. Some of the people, and I think that a big number, don't really care about what's happening on the grass. They actually care about the whole experience, the conversations, the food, the music, everything behind it. So um, I think, and on top of that, it's like the people that are working there. It can be from 18 years old to 76 years old, that from all the scale that are working in these events and enjoying every moment of it. And it's what we saw in the beginning, that sometimes it's not always the best experience, because sometimes you're not enjoying working with this manager, or you're not enjoying working in this specific space. But when you have an option to choose the space, when you have the option to rate the work, then
Mm.
you're starting to control your work life. And if something is not, you don't like working for this client or in this area, you can just say, yeah, 1 star. You won't be booked there again. Um, it changes the way that it works and makes it much more nicer to work in these kind of jobs.
You've said before that, well, everyone knows that AI is coming for everyone's job in some way, but you've said before that AI can't replace shift work and that this is an area, an industry of work that won't be targeted to such disruption, in the sense that, you know, in that it can debilitate, you know, it can change, but it won't maybe destroy. What does the future of work look like then for everyone? I mean, I guess this is one of the largest sectors of the workforce, of the type of workforce. I know that parts of my work have been completely transformed with AI, and that's just I'm just one guy that barely leaves the studio, you know. So when you're out in the streets, what does it look like? What does the future of work look like in your mind?
Yeah. Um, Look, there is also like a nice transition happening in like beer tapping machines that are automated. So you don't need a beer tapper. There are like Amazon Go places inside stadiums that you can just get in, take whatever you want, and you're paying automatically. And you don't need the retailer, like the cashiers that will do the job there. So there is a transition there, but eventually, um, it's the minority. I think that the future of work will go massively to blue collar jobs. And because the space of white collar jobs for um, entry level jobs is becoming much more crowded and harder to compete with the existing solutions and the solutions that will come in a year time with AI. So I believe that the blue collar space will just grow and grow from a workforce perspective, and they will. You will need like the right tools in order to manage it and the right spaces for them. So this is how I see the future of work in the blue collar space. And we will need to wait and see like a few years and see if it if that's where it goes.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, you're filling me with a lot of encouragement and enthusiasm that things like these big stadium arena venues are being utilized in the way they are. I have to confess that nowadays I can probably see the appeal more in conferences than I do concerts or football games. But I do have very fond memories as a child of going to Twickenham, the rugby stadium in England. And you were right in what you were saying. You know, the rugby game itself, the sports game itself, was just the thing that was happening. But what was great was the food trucks and the family and the music and the people. So there is a whole culture there, and it's great to hear how it seeps through everything. Omri, we're approaching the end of our time, I'm afraid. I do apologize. We are cutting it a bit short, and I'm getting ready to close the conversation. But before we do, I do want to give you an opportunity just to give the viewers or readers or listeners a chance to follow you or stay in touch with you or find out more. So what is the best way that they can follow you or connect with you?
Yeah, any place. It's omri@ubea.com is my email. Omri Dekalo on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out. We're hiring massively in the US, UK, in Israel for different types of jobs. If it's like full stack developers, if it's project management, customer success. So please get in touch. If you like the space, if you like sports and you want to disrupt this amazing place, please do reach out. James, I really appreciate the time. It was great fun.
It was great. Omri, thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck with your continued growth and all of the sectors that you hope to grow into as well. And I look forward to seeing how it all goes. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you so much, James.